Mindset Diaries, the habits, routines, and rituals of successful, written and published by Mindset Masters Audiobooks. Chapter 1, The Quiet Power of Daily Structure. Success rarely announces itself with noise. It does not usually arrive through a sudden breakthrough or a dramatic moment of transformation. Instead, success is built quietly, almost invisibly, through the repeated actions that shape each day. Behind every accomplished individual is a structure, a rhythm, and a disciplined pattern of behavior that guides their time and protects their focus. This structure becomes a foundation upon which progress is built, and without it, even the strongest ambition struggles to survive. Many people search for motivation, inspiration, or the perfect opportunity, believing these elements are the keys to achievement. Yet the individuals who consistently move forward understand a different principle. They do not rely on motivation alone. They rely on routine. Routine removes uncertainty. It eliminates wasted energy. It creates stability in a world filled with distractions and competing demands. When your day has structure, your mind has direction. The power of daily structure lies in its predictability. When certain actions occur at the same time each day, they become automatic. Decisions become easier. Resistance becomes weaker. Progress becomes steady. Instead of negotiating with yourself about whether to act, you simply follow the plan you have already established. This consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds results. Consider the difference between a day that begins with intention and a day that begins with reaction. In a reactive day, time is controlled by interruptions, messages, and unexpected tasks. Focus is scattered. Energy is drained quickly. At the end of such a day, there is often a sense of busyness without accomplishment. In an intentional day, priorities are clear from the start. Important tasks receive attention before distractions appear. Energy is used strategically, and progress becomes measurable. Successful individuals treat their mornings with particular care because the beginning of the day often determines the direction of everything that follows. They wake with purpose. They prepare their minds before facing the demands of the world. This preparation may involve reflection, planning, learning, or physical movement, but the specific activity matters less than the consistency with which it is performed. The routine signals the mind that the day has begun with control rather than chaos. Daily structure also protects momentum. Momentum is one of the most valuable forces in personal growth because it reduces the effort required to continue moving forward. When actions are repeated consistently, they create a rhythm, and rhythm creates flow. In this state, productivity feels natural rather than forced. Tasks that once required intense effort become manageable. Confidence grows because progress becomes visible. There is also a psychological benefit to structure. When you follow a routine, you experience a sense of order and stability. This stability reduces stress and increases clarity. You know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and how to begin. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by possibilities, you focus on execution. This clarity strengthens decision-making and allows you to handle challenges with composure. Another important aspect of daily structure is accountability. A routine creates measurable standards. It becomes clear whether commitments have been honored or ignored. This visibility encourages responsibility because progress can be tracked. Small victories accumulate, reinforcing confidence and motivation. Over time, these small victories transform into significant achievements. It is important to understand that structure does not eliminate flexibility. Life will always present unexpected situations, and rigid schedules can become stressful if they cannot adapt. Effective routines are strong but adjustable. They provide guidance without creating pressure. They allow for rest when needed and adjustment when circumstances change. The goal is not perfection, but consistency. Building a powerful daily structure begins with simple steps. Identify the actions that move your life forward. Protect time for those actions. Repeat them consistently. Resist the temptation to complicate the process. Simplicity increases sustainability. The more manageable your routine, the more likely you are to maintain it over the long term. As days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, the impact of daily structure becomes undeniable. Skills improve, confidence strengthens, opportunities expand. The individual who once struggled to stay focused begins to operate with clarity and control. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it happens inevitably when discipline is applied consistently. The lesson is straightforward yet powerful. Success is not built in extraordinary moments. It is built in ordinary days handled with extraordinary discipline. The habits you practice each morning, the routines you follow each afternoon, and the rituals you maintain each evening quietly shape your future. Protect your structure. Respect your routine. Honor the rhythm that moves your life forward. Because the path to success is not hidden in rare opportunities. It is written in the pages of your daily actions, recorded quietly in the diary of your discipline. Chapter 2. Habits are the architects of your future. Every future is built twice. It is first built in the mind through decisions and intentions, and then it is built in reality through habits repeated consistently over time. While goals provide direction and dreams create excitement, habits perform the real work. They are the silent architects shaping outcomes day after day, whether those outcomes lead to progress or stagnation. The difference between a life of achievement and a life of frustration is rarely intelligence or opportunity. More often, it is a collection of daily habits that either support growth or quietly undermine it. Many people underestimate the power of habits because individual actions appear small and insignificant. Skipping one workout, delaying one task, or spending 1 hour distracted may seem harmless in isolation. Yet, habits operate through accumulation. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. A single action may not define your future, but repeated actions establish patterns, and patterns determine direction. Over time, these patterns solidify into routines that guide behavior automatically. Successful individuals understand that habits remove uncertainty. They eliminate the need for constant decision-making, conserving mental energy for more important challenges. Instead of debating whether to act, they act according to established routines. This consistency creates reliability, and reliability produces results. The mind becomes conditioned to expect action at specific times, making discipline feel natural rather than forced. There is also a powerful psychological advantage to building strong habits. Each completed habit creates evidence of progress. This evidence strengthens confidence, reinforcing the belief that improvement is possible. Confidence built through action is durable because it is based on real experience rather than wishful thinking. The individual begins to trust their ability to follow through, and this trust becomes a foundation for larger achievements. Habits also influence emotional stability. When routines are consistent, life feels more predictable. Predictability reduces stress and creates a sense of control. Even during difficult periods, established habits provide structure, helping individuals maintain focus and momentum. They serve as anchors, keeping progress steady when motivation fluctuates. Another important aspect of habits is their ability to compound. Just as small financial investments grow through consistent contributions, small actions grow through repetition. Reading a few pages each day leads to knowledge. Practicing a skill daily leads to mastery. Saving a small amount regularly leads to financial security. These outcomes may take time to appear, but once momentum builds, progress accelerates. It is also essential to recognize that habits can work against you if left unmanaged. Negative routines form just as easily as positive ones. Procrastination, distraction, and inconsistency can become automatic behaviors, creating barriers to success. The mind adapts to whatever pattern is repeated most frequently. This is why awareness is critical. You must identify the habits that support your goals and replace those that hinder progress. Changing habits requires patience and persistence. The process begins with small, manageable actions rather than dramatic changes. Attempting to transform everything at once often leads to frustration and burnout. Sustainable growth comes from gradual improvement. Focus on one habit at a time. Practice it consistently. Allow it to become natural before adding another. This step-by-step approach builds confidence and prevents overwhelm. Environment also plays a significant role in habit formation. The spaces you occupy and the people you interact with influence behavior more than you may realize. A cluttered workspace encourages distraction, while an organized environment promotes focus. Supportive relationships encourage discipline, while negative influences create resistance. By designing your environment intentionally, you make positive habits easier to maintain. Another key factor in habit development is identity. When you see yourself as a disciplined individual, Your behavior begins to reflect that belief. You act in ways that align with your self-image. Instead of forcing yourself to perform tasks, you perform them because they match who you believe you are. This alignment between identity and behavior creates consistency. Habits also create momentum. Each completed action builds energy for the next. Momentum reduces resistance and increases confidence. Once progress begins, it becomes easier to continue. The challenge is not maintaining momentum, but starting it. The first step may feel difficult, but repeated steps create flow. Over time, the cumulative effect of strong habits becomes impossible to ignore. Productivity increases, skills improve, opportunities expand. The individual who once struggled with discipline begins to operate with confidence and control. This transformation is not the result of luck, but the result of consistent action applied over months and years. The lesson is clear and practical. Your future is not determined by occasional effort, but by daily habits. Every routine you practice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Choose those routines carefully. Protect them. Repeat them until they become automatic. Because the life you desire will not be built in a single moment of inspiration. It will be built quietly, steadily, and powerfully through the habits you practice every day.
Chapter 3: Routines create stability in an unpredictable world. Life is rarely predictable. Plans change, challenges appear without warning, and circumstances shift in ways that test patience and resilience. In such an environment, it is easy to feel overwhelmed, distracted, or uncertain about the next step. Yet the individuals who remain steady in the face of uncertainty share a common advantage. They rely on routines. Routines provide structure when life feels chaotic. They create order where confusion might otherwise dominate. They become a dependable framework that supports progress regardless of external conditions. A routine is more than a schedule. It is a system of behavior designed to protect your time, preserve your energy, and maintain your focus. When routines are strong, decisions become simpler. You know when to begin work, when to rest, when to learn, and when to prepare for the next challenge. This clarity reduces stress because it removes the constant need to decide what to do next. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you operate according to a plan. One of the greatest benefits of routine is emotional stability. When daily actions follow a predictable pattern, the mind experiences a sense of control. This sense of control reduces anxiety and increases confidence. You begin to trust that progress will continue, even when motivation fluctuates or unexpected problems arise. Routine becomes an anchor, keeping you grounded when life becomes demanding. Successful individuals understand that consistency is more valuable than intensity. A short, focused effort repeated every day often produces better results than occasional bursts of extreme effort. For example, studying for 30 minutes daily is more effective than studying for several hours once a week. Regular exercise performed consistently builds strength more reliably than occasional intense workouts. Small, repeated actions accumulate into significant progress. Another important advantage of routines is efficiency. When tasks are performed regularly, they require less effort and less time. Skills improve, mistakes decrease, and performance becomes smoother. This efficiency creates momentum, allowing you to accomplish more without increasing stress. Over time, routine transforms difficult activities into manageable habits. Routines also protect your priorities. In a world filled with distractions, it is easy to spend time on activities that provide little value. Without structure, urgent tasks often replace important ones. Routine prevents this by reserving time for meaningful work before distractions appear. It ensures that progress continues even when demands increase. It is also important to recognize that routines create discipline indirectly. Discipline is often misunderstood as forcing yourself to act despite resistance. In reality, discipline becomes easier when routines are established. When an action is repeated at the same time each day, it becomes automatic. The mind stops debating. Resistance decreases. Action becomes natural. Another key principle is adaptability. Effective routines are not rigid. They allow for adjustment when circumstances change. A routine should guide behavior, not control it completely. When unexpected events occur, the routine can shift temporarily without collapsing entirely. This flexibility ensures that progress continues even during challenging periods. Environment plays a critical role in supporting routines. A well-organized workspace encourages productivity. A quiet environment supports concentration. Clear boundaries protect time and energy. By designing your surroundings intentionally, You make it easier to maintain your routine and reduce unnecessary distractions. Routines also build trust, both with yourself and with others. When you consistently follow through on commitments, people recognize your reliability. They begin to depend on your discipline and respect your time. This trust creates opportunities for collaboration, leadership, and growth. Reliability becomes a powerful asset in both personal and professional life. Over time, routines create momentum that carries you forward even when motivation is low. On difficult days, routine provides direction. On successful days, it reinforces progress. In both situations, it keeps you moving. This steady movement is the foundation of long-term achievement. The most important routines are often the simplest. Waking at a consistent time. Planning the day before it begins. Completing important tasks early. Reviewing progress at the end of the day. These small actions require minimal effort, yet they create powerful results when practiced consistently. As routines become established, life begins to feel more manageable. Challenges remain, but they no longer feel overwhelming. Confidence grows because progress becomes predictable. The individual who once struggled with inconsistency begins to operate with clarity and control. The lesson is practical and enduring. Routines create stability in an unpredictable world. They provide structure, protect focus, and support discipline. They transform uncertainty into order and effort into progress. Guard your routines carefully. Refine them when necessary. Follow them consistently. Because success is not built on rare moments of inspiration. It is built on daily routines repeated with patience, discipline, and purpose. Chapter 4: Rituals turn ordinary actions into extraordinary results. There is a subtle but powerful difference between a habit and a ritual. A habit is something you do regularly, often without much thought, while a ritual is something you do with intention, focus, and meaning. Habits create consistency, but rituals create identity. They transform routine actions into purposeful moments that shape mindset, strengthen discipline, and prepare you for performance. The most successful individuals do not simply rely on habits. They develop rituals that anchor their day and elevate their standards. A ritual signals to the mind that something important is about to happen. It creates a transition from distraction to concentration, from rest to action, from preparation to execution. Athletes often perform the same warm-up before competition. Professionals review their plans before beginning work. Leaders take a moment to reflect before making decisions. These rituals may appear simple, yet they create mental clarity and emotional readiness. The power of ritual lies in repetition combined with intention. When an action is performed consistently with focus, it becomes a psychological trigger. The mind begins to associate that action with a specific state of readiness. Over time, this association strengthens performance because the ritual prepares both the mind and body for the task ahead. Instead of struggling to concentrate, you enter the work already prepared. Rituals also reduce hesitation. Starting a task is often the most difficult part of any process. Distractions compete for attention and uncertainty creates delay. A ritual eliminates this friction by creating a predictable starting point. When the ritual begins, action follows naturally. The mind recognizes the pattern and responds automatically. Another important function of rituals is emotional control. Success requires the ability to manage stress, maintain focus, and remain calm under pressure. Rituals provide stability during challenging moments. They create a sense of familiarity that reduces anxiety and increases confidence. Even in uncertain situations, the presence of a ritual offers reassurance that you are prepared. Rituals also reinforce discipline because they require commitment. Performing the same intentional action every day demands consistency. It demonstrates respect for the process and belief in long-term progress. This consistency builds resilience, allowing you to maintain momentum even when motivation is low. One of the most effective ways to build rituals is to connect them to existing habits. For example, reviewing goals immediately after waking up, planning tasks after finishing breakfast, or reflecting on progress before going to sleep. By attaching rituals to familiar routines, you create a seamless flow throughout the day. Each action leads naturally to the next. Environment plays a critical role in supporting rituals. A dedicated workspace encourages focus. A quiet moment of reflection creates mental clarity. Organized tools reduce distractions. When your surroundings support your ritual, it becomes easier to maintain consistency and protect your attention. Another key element of ritual is simplicity. Complex routines are difficult to sustain. Effective rituals are short, clear, and repeatable. They require minimal effort but deliver significant impact. A few minutes of planning, preparation, or reflection can transform the quality of your work. Rituals also create momentum. When you begin your day with intention, progress starts early. Early progress builds confidence, and confidence fuels further action. This cycle strengthens productivity and increases motivation. Over time, momentum becomes a reliable force that drives success. It is also important to recognize that rituals create meaning. They remind you why your work matters. They connect daily actions to long-term goals. This connection strengthens commitment and increases persistence during difficult periods. When effort feels purposeful, discipline becomes easier to maintain. Successful individuals protect their rituals carefully. They treat them as non-negotiable parts of their schedule. Even during busy periods, they maintain these practices because they understand their value. Consistency in small rituals often determines success in large responsibilities. As rituals become established, performance improves naturally. Focus sharpens. Confidence grows. Stress decreases. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable. The individual begins to operate with precision and control, guided by intentional routines. The lesson is clear and practical. Rituals transform ordinary actions into extraordinary results. They create readiness, strengthen discipline, and support consistent performance. They provide structure in moments of uncertainty and clarity in moments of pressure. Protect your rituals. Perform them with intention. Repeat them with consistency. Because success is not only about what you do, but how deliberately you prepare to do it. Chapter 5. Protecting your time is protecting your future. Time is the one resource that cannot be replaced, recovered, or expanded. Money can be earned again, opportunities can return, and mistakes can be corrected, but time, once spent, is permanently gone. Every successful individual eventually arrives at this realization, often after experiencing the frustration of wasted hours, missed deadlines, and delayed progress. They come to understand that managing time is not simply about productivity, it is about protecting the future they are working to build. Many people believe they lack time, yet in reality time is often lost through small, unnoticed decisions. Minutes are spent on distractions, hours are consumed by low-value activities, and days pass without meaningful progress. These losses rarely feel significant in the moment, but over months and years, they accumulate into missed opportunities and unfulfilled goals. The disciplined individual learns to recognize this pattern and takes deliberate steps to protect their schedule. Protecting your time begins with clarity. You must know what matters most before you can decide how to spend your hours. Without clear priorities, time is easily consumed by urgent but unimportant tasks. Messages, requests, and interruptions can dominate the day, leaving little energy for meaningful work. Clarity acts as a filter, allowing you to focus on activities that create real progress while minimizing distractions that offer little value. One of the most effective strategies for protecting time is planning. Planning transforms intention into action by assigning specific tasks to specific periods. It creates a roadmap for the day, reducing confusion and increasing efficiency. When your schedule is defined, you begin each day with direction rather than uncertainty. This direction allows you to move quickly from one task to the next without hesitation. Another important principle is boundaries. Successful individuals establish clear limits on how their time is used. They learn to decline requests that do not align with their goals. They protect periods of focused work from interruptions. These boundaries are not acts of selfishness, they are acts of responsibility. By safeguarding their time, they ensure that important work receives the attention it deserves. Energy management also plays a critical role in time protection. Not all hours are equal. Some periods of the day bring higher concentration and creativity, while others bring fatigue. Effective scheduling aligns demanding tasks with peak energy levels. This alignment increases productivity and reduces stress because work is performed when the mind is most capable. Distractions represent one of the greatest threats to productive time. Modern environments are filled with notifications, messages, and constant information. Without discipline, these interruptions fragment attention and slow progress. The successful individual creates systems to minimize distraction, turning off unnecessary alerts, organizing their workspace, and setting dedicated periods for focused work. Another key aspect of protecting time is delegation and simplification. Not every task requires your direct involvement. Some responsibilities can be assigned to others or streamlined through better processes. By reducing unnecessary workload, you create space for high-impact activities that move your goals forward. Consistency also strengthens time management. When tasks are performed at regular intervals, they require less mental effort and less time to complete. Routine creates efficiency, allowing progress to continue even during busy periods. Over time, this consistency produces reliable results. There is also an emotional benefit to protecting your time. When you control your schedule, stress decreases and confidence increases. You feel prepared rather than rushed, focused rather than overwhelmed. This sense of control improves decision-making and strengthens resilience during challenging situations. Protecting time also builds trust. When you manage your schedule effectively, commitments are honored and deadlines are met. Others recognize your reliability and professionalism. This trust creates opportunities for advancement, collaboration, and leadership. It is important to understand that protecting your time requires discipline. There will always be competing demands and unexpected interruptions. The difference between progress and stagnation often depends on your willingness to maintain boundaries and remain focused on your priorities. As this discipline develops, the results become visible. Productivity increases. Goals are completed more quickly. Stress becomes manageable. The individual begins to experience a sense of momentum, the steady forward movement that defines success. The lesson is simple yet powerful. Protecting your time is protecting your future. Every hour invested wisely brings you closer to your goals. Every distraction resisted strengthens your discipline. Every plan followed builds confidence. Guard your schedule carefully. Respect your priorities. Use your time with intention. Because the life you are building is shaped not by how busy you are, but by how wisely you spend the hours you have. Chapter 6. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. Every person has intentions. Almost everyone has dreams, plans, and goals they hope to accomplish someday. Yet there is a wide gap between wanting something and achieving it, and that gap is crossed only through discipline. Discipline is the bridge that connects vision to reality. Without it, ideas remain unfinished, plans remain postponed, and potential remains unused. With it, progress becomes steady, predictable, and powerful. Many people wait for motivation before taking action. They believe they must feel inspired, energized, or confident before they begin. The problem with this approach is that motivation is temporary. It rises and falls depending on mood, energy, and circumstances. Discipline, however, does not depend on emotion. It depends on commitment. It ensures that action continues even when enthusiasm fades. Discipline begins with small decisions. Waking up at the planned time, completing tasks before relaxing, following through on commitments, and maintaining focus during difficult moments may seem simple, yet these actions build strength over time. Each discipline choice reinforces responsibility and self-control. These qualities become habits, and habits shape character. One of the greatest advantages of discipline is reliability. When you act consistently, progress becomes predictable. You no longer rely on chance or luck. Instead, you create results through repeated effort. This reliability builds confidence because you know that your success depends on your behavior, not on external conditions. Discipline also strengthens resilience. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable in any meaningful pursuit. Plans may fail, resources may become limited, and progress may slow unexpectedly. In these moments, discipline provides stability. It keeps you moving forward when motivation disappears. It reminds you that persistence, not perfection, leads to success. Another important function of discipline is focus. In a world filled with distractions, maintaining concentration has become increasingly difficult. Messages, notifications, and competing demands constantly compete for attention. Discipline protects your focus by setting boundaries and creating structure. It ensures that important work receives priority over less meaningful activities. Discipline also creates momentum. When actions are repeated consistently, they become easier to perform. Resistance decreases. Confidence increases. The effort required to continue moving forward becomes smaller. Momentum turns progress into a habit rather than a struggle. There is also a powerful emotional reward associated with discipline. Completing tasks as planned creates a sense of accomplishment. This accomplishment builds self-respect and strengthens belief in your abilities. Over time, disciplined behavior transforms how you see yourself. You begin to identify as someone who follows through, someone who finishes what they start. Another key principle is delayed gratification. Discipline often requires choosing long-term rewards over immediate comfort. This may involve studying instead of relaxing, saving money instead of spending, or practicing a skill instead of avoiding effort. These decisions require patience, yet they create opportunities that would otherwise remain unavailable. Environment plays an important role in supporting discipline. A structured workspace encourages focus. Clear goals provide direction. Supportive relationships reinforce commitment. By designing your surroundings intentionally, you make disciplined behavior easier to maintain. It is also important to recognize that discipline is a skill that improves with practice. The more you exercise self-control, the stronger it becomes. Tasks that once felt difficult gradually become routine. Confidence grows as evidence of progress accumulates. Discipline also builds trust. When others see consistent effort and reliable performance, they begin to depend on your actions. This trust opens doors to new responsibilities and opportunities. Reliability becomes a valuable reputation. As discipline becomes part of daily life, success feels less mysterious and more manageable. Progress becomes a result of consistent effort rather than sudden inspiration. The individual who once struggled with inconsistency begins to operate with clarity and control. The lesson is direct and enduring. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. Without it, dreams remain distant. With it, progress becomes inevitable. Strengthen your discipline. Honor your commitments. Continue working even when motivation is low. Because the goals you set today will only become reality through the disciplined actions you repeat tomorrow. Chapter 7. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Success is not built only through action. It is built through reflection on action. Many people move quickly from one task to the next, from one goal to another, rarely pausing to evaluate what worked, what failed, and what could be improved. As a result, they repeat the same mistakes, overlook valuable lessons, and miss opportunities to grow. Reflection changes this pattern. It transforms experience into wisdom and effort into progress. Reflection is the habit of stepping back to observe your own behavior with honesty and clarity. It requires you to examine your decisions, your routines, and your results without excuses or denial. This process may feel uncomfortable at times because it reveals weaknesses and mistakes. Yet discomfort is often the starting point of improvement. When you identify a problem clearly, you gain the power to correct it. One of the greatest benefits of reflection is awareness. Awareness allows you to recognize patterns in your behavior. You begin to notice when productivity increases, when focus declines, and when distractions interfere with progress. This understanding makes it easier to adjust your habits and strengthen your routines. Instead of reacting to problems, you anticipate them and prepare solutions. Reflection also strengthens decision-making. When you review past outcomes, you gain insight into which strategies produce results and which ones waste time. This knowledge reduces uncertainty because future choices are guided by experience rather than guesswork. Over time, decisions become faster and more accurate. Another important function of reflection is accountability. It encourages you to take responsibility for your actions rather than blame external circumstances. By accepting responsibility, you maintain control over your progress. You recognize that improvement depends on your behavior, not on luck or timing. Reflection also supports emotional stability. During challenging periods, it provides perspective. You can see how far you have come, how obstacles were overcome, and how progress was achieved. This perspective builds confidence and reduces stress because it reminds you that difficulties are temporary and manageable. Successful individuals often create regular moments for reflection. They review their day, evaluate their performance, and identify areas for improvement. These moments do not need to be long or complicated. Even a few minutes of thoughtful analysis can reveal valuable insights. The key is consistency. Writing is one of the most effective tools for reflection. Recording your thoughts, goals, and lessons creates a permanent record of progress. It allows you to track changes over time and recognize patterns that might otherwise remain hidden. A journal becomes a mirror showing both strengths and weaknesses with clarity. Reflection also improves focus. When you understand what truly matters, you spend less time on activities that offer little value. You learn to prioritize tasks that move you closer to your goals. This clarity increases productivity and reduces frustration. Another important benefit of reflection is growth. Growth requires learning, and learning requires evaluation. By reviewing your experiences regularly, you identify opportunities to improve skills, strengthen discipline, and refine strategies. This process turns mistakes into lessons and setbacks into stepping stones. Reflection also encourages gratitude. When you pause to recognize progress, support, and opportunity, you develop appreciation for the journey. Gratitude strengthens motivation and improves emotional well-being. It reminds you that success is built through effort, persistence, and patience. It is important to understand that reflection is not about criticism. It is about improvement. The goal is not to focus on failure, but to identify lessons that lead to better performance. Constructive reflection builds confidence because it demonstrates that progress is possible. As reflection becomes a regular habit, self-awareness increases. Decisions become more deliberate. Actions become more effective. The individual begins to operate with clarity and purpose, guided by knowledge gained from past experience. The lesson is simple yet powerful. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. It transforms mistakes into lessons, effort into improvement, and time into progress. Pause regularly. Evaluate honestly. Learn continuously. Because the most successful people are not those who never make mistakes, but those who learn from every experience and use that knowledge to move forward with greater strength and confidence.